C.2, Basic Rules of CSS. From now on, we will learn all the details about CSS technology. First, we look at the basic rules. We want to get some, basic structure of this technology. Actually, it is pretty simple. We can understand that part easily. First, CSS syntax. We described the general syntax, the structure of the general syntax. It's, very straightforward. Syntax like this. This is the structure. 2 parts. The first part, you can see the selector part. So the one part you select. You select some element you want to apply your style rules on it. So that's why you need to select a particular element first. So we call it selector. After that, declaration part. Now you need to do the style declaration. What kind of style you want to apply on this particular element? That's simple. If you look at the declaration, you can see we use multiple declarations. Declaration 1 separated by semicolon, and a declaration, another declaration, things like that. That's the basic structure. All right, so let's look at the simple discussion on this structure. A CSS rule set. Here, remember, we need to use a set of rules. Rule set. To describe the style information for the whole element, we need to apply multiple rules. Each rule defines a specific style piece. But you need multiple pieces. You need a set of rules. So that's why we have a rule set. Consists of a selector, the first part. Selector, we only need one, right? One is enough. One selector we can find, use this selector, we can find which element we want to apply the style we define here. And declaration block, whole block of declarations. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. All right. The selector points to the HTML element you want to style. Points to. It helps us to find the right HTML elements. May not be just one, could be multiple. Sometimes one, sometimes several HTML elements. Okay. How? Later we have more discussions on that. How to locate those HTML documents. We have several ways to do it. All right. The declaration block contains one or more declarations separated by semicolons. So we have seen that here. From this picture. We see that clearly. Like that. Each declaration, the structure of each declaration includes a CSS property name. The first part is the property we want to modify. We want to define property. Okay, property. Another property. Property side. Okay, all right. Then, second part, value part. For that particular property, what value do we want to use? So, second part. Name value pair. Regarding each property, how do you define individual property? Using name value pair, but we use colon to separate. name value pair. Okay? Yeah, that structure. Yeah. All right. Then the whole block, declaration block, so we use a pair of curly braces. So that's simple. That is the general syntax. So we use this structure, syntax rule everywhere to describe the styles for the whole document, multiple documents, for the whole website, like that. Okay. All right, so let me show you the first example. Very simple, this example. So based on our structure description, so you can see, we can see the meaning immediately. What's the meaning of this rule set, right? Yeah, this whole rule set. Okay, all right. First, selector. We select P element. P, you know, paragraph, right? In HTML, we use this P tag. P tag. That is the P element, right? Paragraph. Okay. All right. So we select all the P elements in the current HTML document. That's not just one, right? Usually, many elements we can apply this same style definition. Yeah. Then inside the declaration block, so how do we define rule by rule? Yeah. Rule by rule, declaration by declaration. Okay. The first one, color property red color. Okay. So the text, content, text, we know content is text, right? The content text must be in red color. Yeah. So this tells that. Okay. Yeah. Red color. Yeah. Then align information. The second property, text dash align. This is the property name called text align. Yeah. All right. So this P element, if it is inside another element, yeah, usually we put element in other elements, element containers, right? Yeah, in another element. So you have a container inside that. Then we want to align this element center of the outside container. Yeah, that's the meaning. So you can see, yeah, so you can pretty much understand the specific style immediately. Yeah. All right. So this is our first view of CSS style definition. Yeah. Other than that, let me just give you a short topic: CSS comments. Very simple, very short topic. Yeah. To do one line, sometimes you want to put some common information just in one line. Yeah, so this way, one line. So the browser, we know the browser will use the CSS information to render your documents. So the browser will ignore the comment. Okay, yeah. So we know the typical usage of comments. Yeah. But sometimes we may like to define a block of comments, not just one line, multiple lines. Yeah. So we can do it this way, right? Beginning and end. Yeah. C style. Here you can see it's a typical C style, C language, C style. Yeah. Yeah. So nothing is new here. Yeah. We just use some old way to do the comments here. Yeah. Next, all right. So now let's look at the CSS selectors. Yeah. How to select an element, an HTML element, to apply the style on it. Yeah. Many ways. So here, the first way. Yeah. All right. The first way, we saw it in the previous slide, element selector. So the first way we use it to select that particular element. So that's easy. Just use element name, right? Yeah. So we just use the element name as our selector. Straightforward. So element name here. For other element, you can do the similar things. Okay? For example, for the table element, you can write table here, right? Yeah. Then, all the rules you define for the declaration. Yeah. So this first type, selector, very straightforward. Yeah. Second type, ID selector. Now, we want to apply some specific style on only one particular element. Only one special element we want to apply on it. Not table, not P. Yeah, if P element, you apply on all P elements. If table selector, you apply on all table elements. But here we don't want to do that. And actually, most of the time, we only want to apply our style definition for one particular element. So this time, the best way is use ID selector. We define some ID. ID, we know, ID must be unique, right? So that is ID. So we only want to apply our special styles on one element. In that situation, we use apply some special style. First, we define, we use ID attribute to define its ID, an ID for that particular element. Later, we can refer to that element. Yeah. All right. First, we know the ID of elements must be unique for the whole document. Yeah. So you won't get confused. Yeah. The browser won't get confused. Yeah. Within a page. Yeah. For different pages, so you don't worry, right? So only for that current page. Yeah. All right. So then, how to do it specifically? Yeah. Now we use the hash character. How do you tell the browser, I want to use the ID selector? This hash character tells the browser. That means ID selector, yeah, followed by the ID name. Yeah. ID of an element, you need to give an ID string, right? Yeah. All right. Example. All right. Hash paragraph 1, right? Yeah. Suppose you call it. Yeah. So then we write specific rules. But you need to define one particular element with this para1 as the ID. Okay? Yeah. So you target one particular element. So this element. For this element, we add this attribute ID with the name. That should be unique. So make sure no other elements happen to use the same ID. Yeah. Then the browser will find this element location using the ID and apply the style on the content. So that logic, yeah, very straightforward. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. There is a simple rule. ID name cannot start with a number. Yeah. Yeah. Do not use number. Use character. Yeah. Letter. Yeah. Non-numeric letter. Yeah. All right. Then we have more rules regarding the selectors. This time we use another special type of class selector, not ID selector. So this time, so let me describe a situation. We need a different selector. All right. Because ID way, we can only apply the style on one element. Exactly one element. All right. Now, we have a situation. There is one special style. We want to apply it on a group of elements, not just one. A small group. Okay? Yeah. A small group. Yeah. Here, you cannot use the tag name because the tag name you apply on all elements with that same name tag. Yeah. We don't want to do that. Our styles could be applied on different tag names, but only selected small group. It's not a small group of elements. How about that? How can we do that? A small group of selected elements, no matter what tags they use, they can use different tags. So for that situation, what kind of selector should we use? That's the situation using this class selector. So we define a class. Then we use this class, we can group any number of elements using that class. Attach the class to it. A class has a class name, right? A class name. Yeah. And all the elements in that class share the same class name. Okay? Then we apply style on the whole class. Okay? So that logic, you can see, pretty reasonable. Yeah. So the class selector selects HTML elements with a specific class attribute. So this time, how do you define a class of elements? Use class attributes. Class we can use as an attribute. Okay? Yeah. All right. And the selector, you need a special symbol to tell the browser we want to apply this style on a class. So you need to tell that. You need a special symbol to tell the browser that information. Period. Dot character. Period character. You use that to tell browser we want to use class selector here. Yeah. Example, dot center. Okay, center is the class name. Yeah, dot symbol, character. You tell the browser this is a class selector. That's simple. Then the rules inside it. Okay. Now, after we do that, which element we want to apply this particular style, use class attribute attached to that particular element, the tag name. Okay? Yeah. Identify those tags, elements you want to apply. It could be different elements, different types of elements, different tag names, right? You can apply on P, you can apply on table, right? Other different elements you can apply this class on them. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So then you can see with this kind of declaration, you can apply some style on a group of, a class of elements. Yeah. Look at this example. Yeah. And here we just do a little more. So here we define this class, but this class P dot class name. P, the element name, right? The tag name, element name, tag name. So this means we apply this style. First, it must match the element name, P. Second, within all the P elements, we only apply on those with center class. Some of them have class attributes, some of them do not have. We only apply on those with center class, as an attribute. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. So here, yeah. Another possibility, elements can refer to more than one class. Yeah. One class, you just provide one set of rules, right? But sometimes you can apply multiple sets of rules on the same element. That is allowed. That is okay. Yeah. For example, for this special case, class, we have two classes. Okay? Two classes. Center class, large class. So each class, you can provide a set of rules for the style declarations. Yeah. So no problem. Yeah. So you may ask questions, contradiction, conflict, right? It's possible, contradiction, conflict, but there is some overriding rule. Yeah. Like the second override the first one, right? So usually like that. Because you update it after you replace the old one by new one, so new one is applied on the content. Yeah. All right. Also, the rule class name cannot start with number. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So that is our video number 2.